Okay, so now we know that we can get an access token from Facebook. Let's see what we need to do in our API. So we'll head back to VS Code. Let's just close all of these tabs. And what we'll do is we'll start in our app settings.json. And this is where we're adding our secret-y information that does not get sent up to GitHub. But we are going to populate this with our Facebook configuration. So what I'll do, I'll add a new section and we'll call it Facebook. And inside here, what we'll do is we'll add an app ID and just empty string for now, and also an app secrets. And again, I'll just put an empty string and I'll just populate this with the values that we've noted down, and our app ID goes the app ID, and we also need the app secrets and populate that inside there as well. And we'll make use of this in our app, of course. And what we're going to do, because this is login related activity, we're going to do all of this in our account controller. So we'll open up the account controller. We're not going to create any services, additional services for this. We'll just add the logic inside our controller, just like we have for our login and register. And this controller, I agree, is the opposite of a thin controller. It's got a lot of logic inside it, and it is taking responsibility for handling the authentication functionality. But that's okay. And what we'll do is we need to add a couple of things into our dependencies here. What we're going to need is we're going to need the iConfiguration, and we'll call it config, as we need to get access to our Facebook configuration keys, and make sure we bring in using Microsoft Extensions configuration. And then let's attempt to initialize field from parameter, and VS Code doesn't like it when I go over 2 lines and it puts it in the wrong place. So let's just rearrange things inside here. And what we also need to do is make an HTTP request from our account controller to Facebook as well. So what we're going to need is an HTTP client. So we'll add a private read-only, and we'll say HTTP clients, and we'll call it underscore HTTP client. And then we've got the option to bring this in from systemnet HTTP. And what we'll do inside our constructor here is we'll say HTTP client equals a new HTTP client. And what we'll do is we'll give this some configuration, and we'll give it a base address, and we'll say new, and then we'll say system.uri, and what we'll do is we'll say https://graph.facebook.com. And of course, we'll be using this HTTP client to make our request to Facebook to verify the token and get the user information. So what we'll do inside here is we'll scroll down, and just above our private method here, what we'll do is we'll make an HTTP post method, and we'll call it FB login, or give it FB login as a root parameter. And we'll say public async task, and we're going to return an action results of type user DTO, just like our other requests in here, and we'll just call this method Facebook login. And we're going to take in a string of the access token as a parameter. And what we'll do, we'll just pass this up from our client, or we are going to pass this up from our client as a query string. Now we've got a few things to do in here. We need to verify that this access token is valid, and not just valid, but valid for our application as well. And the way that we do that is we'll create a variable to store this, and we'll say var fb verify keys, and we're going to set this equal to config, and then we're going to access Facebook app ID. Then we need to concatenate a pipe. So we'll add quotes and a pipe, and then we'll concatenate config and in quotes Facebook app secret. Now there's only one way to verify that a key is valid for our app, and that's to use a particular endpoint in Facebook. And the way that we verify this, and let's just say var verify token equals await HTTP client, and we're going to say get async, and then we're going to use a template formatting string, and we're going to say debug underscore token question mark, and then we need to say input underscore token equals, and then we can open curly brackets and specify access token. So this is the one that's being passed up from the client, then ampersand, and then confusingly we're going to use access underscore token equals, and then we pass in our FB verify keys. And let's just move this down and add the semicolon. So this is going to give us either a success or a failure. And what we're doing here, this is a bit weird because it looks like we're adding some kind of debugging URL, but we're not. This is going to take our own app keys and or the client's access token and verify that the token's valid for use with our application. As we could use the access token directly to get information about the user's profile without needing to-do lists. So this is the only place where we actually use our app secret in here. So what we'll do is we'll say if, and we'll add exclamation mark, verify token is success code. So we're looking to see if this is not a success. And if it's not a success, we're just going to return unauthorized. Then what we'll do is we'll add another variable, and we'll say Facebook URL or FB URL equals, and then we'll add another template string. And in this one, we want to get the user's profile details. And the way that we do that is we say me, followed by a question mark, and then we're going to use the access token. And like I say, slightly confusing because this really is the access token that we pass in from the client, not our API keys. We don't need to use them to go and get the user's profile data. And then we can specify the fields that we're interested in. So we'll say ampersand and fields equals, and we want their name, their email, and picture. And we can give the picture some properties, and we're going to specify the width. We want it to be 100, and the height, we want it to be 100. So this is going to allow us, for the user with this access token, it's going to return to us the name, email, and picture from Facebook, and we'll get access to that from what we return. So what we'll do, we'll say var response equals, and we're going to say await and HTTP client, and we're going to say get async, and we'll pass in the Facebook URL. And once again, we'll check the status code. So we'll add the if statement and then say response is success status code, and if it's not a success, then we're just going to return unauthorized again. And then what we want to do is take a look at the response itself. And what we'll do is we'll just do this the long way just initially, and just so that we can get and in fact we'll take a look at this via the debugger to see what information we get. So what we'll do is we'll say var content equals, and we're going to say await and response dot content dot read as string async. And then what we'll do, we'll create another variable called FB info. And what we're going to use for this is the object we get back from Facebook is going to contain many properties. And we could create a class so that we can strongly type the properties we get back. But I'm going to show you a different way of doing this. And what we'll use is a dynamic object, which means that we do not know what the type is at compile time. We only get this information at runtime. Now, slightly dangerous in a way because it doesn't give us type safety, and it's a bit weird to use something that's not type safe in a C# application. But let's take a look at what we can do. So I'm going to say JSON converts, and we need to bring this in from newtonsoft.json. The system text JSON does not have the ability to deal with dynamic objects yet, but newtonsoft.json does. So what we'll do, we'll say JSON convert and then deserialize object, and we're going to specify dynamic is the type parameter. and then we'll pass in our content. Now, at this point, we're going to stop, and we're just going to return a new user DTO so that we remove any errors. But what we want to do is take a look at what we get inside here. As from here, we're going to use that information to create the user object. But let's take a look at what this dynamic object does for us. So what we'll do, we'll add a breakpoint. And in the next lesson, we're going to tie up our client app to the API. We still need to add the method in our user store to actually use the agent method. And then we'll run this through the debugger to see what we get.